This whole project started with a tweet from A13 or SAD Electronics, and they just linked in a website where you could design and then download a 3D printed box. So I thought, let's give that a go. Here's the front end for the software, and you can see down here that there's a 3D rendering of what the box looks like. At the moment, there's no partitions in it, and you can rotate it around and do what you need to do, which is pretty cool. But let's start putting a few partitions in there. So you can see that you can click on one side or the other, and then you can just add a partition how you want. So I'm going to add one that goes this way, and maybe a couple this way, and yeah, maybe we'll put some vertical ones in there as well. And you can see what's happening in the 3D printing below. Sorry, the 3D model below. You can see that, how it's just adding them as you go. It looks a bit like an ice cube tray at the moment. So that's pretty much what I would require, actually. I'm interested in the idea of having something for, longer pieces like little screwdrivers and such. And you can actually, what you can do is shrink down those as well, and you can see what the effect it'll have on the box here. So a larger section on this side and a smaller section on this side, and maybe one partition here vertically. And then what we do is 2.5 centimeters should be about right, and I'd like to make it maybe about 120 millimeters high, and maybe around 180, let's say, millimeters across 18 centimeters, and that looks pretty good. And I don't think I'll put a lid on it because I want easy access to it, but you can also design it so it's got a lid on it as well. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's download it, put it in a slicer, and see how long it would take to actually make it. So here it is in a slicer. This is Ultimaker Cura. So you could use your own version. It's transported across from the interwebs pretty well. It's pretty much how I imagined it. Let's see what the slicing and dicing reveals. And I've just used standard 15 hours and 16 minutes. Maybe we should have a little look at that. So yeah, if we just drop this down and drop the infill down, it's only a box. Come on. And do we need support and adhesion? I guess. All right, we'll try that. So reslicing down to, this is a bit bigger than I thought on the bed, 16 hours. All right, let's try a little magic here. So if we scale down by, let's say, 80%, what happens? And slice again. Could even bring that infill down a little bit as well. 9 hours. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, let's preview that and see what it's going to look like. So let me just rotate that around. If I can remember how to do that. It's moving it, but it's not rotating it. Let me try this one. Boy, who hasn't 3D printed in a while? There we go. Right mouse button, rotates around. Not that you can see an awful lot. Looks like this version of Ultimaker Cura has changed the colours there. There's pretty garish colours. But the box looks nice, and 9 hours, I can live with that. Let's save it and print it. So the box is now printing. Let's just have a bit of a look and see what is happening with it. Yep, so it's looking pretty good. It did have a bit of a problem a couple of days ago when I was printing with some blackened and brown bits coming out on white PLA, which is a bit of a worry. It may not have noticed it with black PLA, so there's a trap for young players, but with the white it was pretty obvious. And it was just a gunky hot end which needed to be cleaned out, and I did replace the tip as well, and the tubing. So yeah, but that's lovely and clean at the moment and seems to be printing fine. One thing you might be interested in is the software here on the ESP32, which is driving a server, so I can actually look at this. This is probably about maybe 10 meters away and downstairs, and I'm looking at it pretty well on the computer, on any device actually. I've checked it on my phone, on an iPad. You just have to dial up the the local address for the ESP32, and yeah, it's quite lovely. I didn't always like this. I mean, one of the things is that this light, this Streamlight and flashlight, wasn't always accessible on the software, and now it is. So if people are interested in, I'm happy to do a video on how that came to pass. I mean, just quickly. I started with the Random Nerd tutorials and also the standard software that comes with the ESP32 when you install it in the Arduino IDE, but then graduated to some people who had put some code on GitHub, and in particular I was interested in the getting rid of the software on the ESP32 that did facial recognition, because that wasn't important to me, but putting on software that activated the flash and was better for streaming. So this one here from Zenpack is pretty good, but there's also an advanced version, a version 2, and this is the actual one that I used. And there are binaries available, which is nice if you don't want to go down the compiling route, and so that's pretty good. But I actually also compiled this, and if people are interested, and just leave comments below, then I'm happy to go through that process. I'll start with a vanilla Linux distribution and compile it from scratch. But it's beautiful software, and there's a lot of it around. Like, this isn't the only one that you might need. There's another one here which I've just seen, and that's you can see here, updated 3 days ago. So that's pretty recent activity. And again, it's the ESP32 CAM server, and again, they do things like take off the facial recognition and put on things like, you can see up here, there's get still, stop stream. I wonder if they've got the LED activation, because that's pretty important for me. I've just got my 3D printer sitting in it's sort of like a cage or a cover, and it's quite dark in there. So being able to activate the flash and have a look at what's going on. Let's do that again, see how things are going. So that's without the flash, and then there's an LED on the actual CAM module itself. So yeah, that's pretty cool to activate that and to be able to see the details a bit more carefully. And I've just got in a corner there, I've just got it focused a little bit also on the console, which will show me the progress as well. So yeah, pretty good software. We'll come back to the box and see how it's going in a little while. Nice result in the end. So egg provided here for scale, although also the 1 centimetre grid provided here for scale. Probably a little smaller than what I had originally imagined, but in fact it's pretty much perfect for the intention, which is to keep track of components for a specific project, so that when it's sitting here on the mat, you can just grab what you need. I did stop the print with about an hour to go because I judged that the height was about where I needed it to be. Because if you're digging around for a component in a well, you really don't want to go too deep, so that's pretty much about perfect. So yeah, that's a good result. I think, by comparison. Well, this is the box I use for the Padauk project, so you can see it's probably a similar concept in a way. So all your components are inside here and labeled at the top. 6 of one, half a dozen the other. Really, what I wanted to do was to try out the software to see if it was going to be a useful feature for the future, I guess, if I was going to make boxes or what have you. And definitely think it's a good idea. So that is the box for this week. See you next time.